what does £1,000 a month actually get you in Jamaica versus in the UK? Let's compare rent, food, transport, and lifestyle. So if we think about rent, in the UK, good luck. £1,000 in the UK might get you like a tiny studio apartment or even just a shared room or a shared flat, right? Whereas in Jamaica, you could get something a lot better. So a 1 to 2 bedroom apartment in a really decent area, or even a small house in some parts of the island.
As a carer working in the UK, leaving Jamaica, a lot of persons probably seen person sharing their experience on social media and keep saying why you not come back on the yard or want to leave Jamaica from the first place. Unlike me, they said experience teaches wisdom, and for me, I've never traveled out of Jamaica all my life. And when I realized that I was in Jamaica working, being in my good job, even though it was still, not paying me or paying a lot of us.
Yo, good people, welcome back to my YouTube channel, and I have a question today. Have you ever wondered if that dream of moving abroad for a better life is really it's all cracked up to be? What if the place you call home could actually be a better lifestyle, even with a smaller paycheck? So today we'll be diving deep into a really interesting comparison, the cost of living and the quality of life between Jamaica and the UK. All a budget of just €1,000 a month. We're going to break down everything from what that money gets you in rent to the surprising differences in grocery prices and even the cost of getting around. But we're not stopping there. We're also going to hear from a Jamaican caregiver in the UK who shares their unfiltered, honest experience about the realities of working abroad. We'll cover the challenges, the opportunities, and the essential advice they have for anyone considering a similar path. So get ready for some serious insights that might just change the way you think about life abroad. Before we jump into that video, please kindly do me a quick favor. If you find this video helpful and or interesting, please hit that like button, subscribe to this channel, and leave a comment below with your thoughts, because you know what, it really helps us or help me create more content like this for you. And don't forget to share this video with anyone you might think might benefit from these insights. Now let's get into into the first part of our discussion. We're going to watch some clips that break down the financial realities of life in both countries. Pay close attention to the details, because I'll be back to discuss everything with you, so don't go anywhere.
If we move on to food, in the UK, groceries keep getting more expensive. That's absolutely apparent. You're easily spending anywhere between £200 to £300 a month on food if you're a family. Now, in Jamaica, local markets are really good value. You can get some good produce for some really good prices. However, their supermarkets are a joke. If you go to a supermarket in Jamaica, you will not believe the prices of the products. They are way more expensive than what is charged here in UK supermarkets. So in that sense, I'm definitely going to give this one to the UK. As I said, if you shop locally and, if you buy like really fresh produce from local vendors, it can be kind of cheap. But if you're someone who likes going to supermarkets and, like that whole experience and prefers to get your stuff or your shopping from supermarkets, you are going to be in for a shock. Now, moving on to transport. So in the UK, a monthly train pass might cost you anywhere between, say, £100 to £200 a month. Now, in Jamaica, public taxis are really, really cheap, which is great. But there is a huge difference, because here in the UK, you could get a Uber and, it's just you and you, but it's relatively cheap to travel. Whereas in Jamaica, as I said, it is cheap to travel, but you are going to be sharing the car with a few other people that the taxi has collected on the way. Sometimes this can be a little bit uncomfortable. Or you can choose to get a chartered taxi, which does cost a little bit more. So again, I think this kind of goes off of preference and what you prefer. Also, if you decide to buy a car in Jamaica, one warning is that gas prices are quite expensive as well. Also, car prices are quite expensive because cars are imported. So that's, again, something else to consider. And then lastly, let's look at lifestyle. So in the UK, £1,000 means pretty much bills, 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 right? In Jamaica, however, you could be chilling on a beach after work instead of shivering in the cold or looking at grey skies. I feel like the standard of living in Jamaica, even with less than £1,000, is so much better than living in the UK. So if you ask me where I would rather be in Jamaica.
Yes, man, if we catch some fish so we can eat and survive. And that is me. So being here, working as a carer in the UK, I've come to understand that you have to know the reason why you're here, your purpose. And even if you don't love the job, display professionalism on the job. Documentation is very important in this country when it comes on to dealing with clients, residents, you name it. Very important. You have to cover yourself. Anything them say, you write it. You write it. A lot of people don't understand that it's easy to go to prison over here when it come on to dealing with patient and all of them stuff. It's like you walk on ice. So you just have to know yourself and just work professionally and cover yourself, document. Being here, as I said, sometimes it pained my heart because I was saying that a lot of people leave the country, a lot of teachers, a lot of nurses, and if you check the ratio and check all of the persons that left Jamaica are some good quality nurse. I mean, know myself, I want good quality care. And unlike a lot of teachers, you have some good teachers that leave, and it's because of underpaying and all of them stuff there, and the fact that you can't even buy a piece of land, you can't buy a house and all of these things. Some things that I did since I'm here in the UK, I couldn't have done it if I was still working in Jamaica, even though I was working with the government and stuff like that. So as far as I can say, being here, I would like anybody to have the experience to travel abroad. Whether you work as a carer, whether you work as a cleaner, whatever it is, just being in a first world country, as them call it. Because sometimes I do feel that I'm in a third world country based on how things are here. Mind you, as a carer, if I am sick, once I am not sick, where me can't move, but if I am sick and sick to the point where me know say I'll be struggling and stuff like that, somehow we still have to take out with sick self and go work. Once we not go infect nobody and all of them stuff, the once it's nothing like that, we still have to take out with sick self and go to work, because if you don't work in this country, you do not get paid. And that's one of the honest truth about it. If you don't work, you don't get paid. The difference is being in Jamaica, my beautiful country, because not because I am here, that doesn't mean I don't appreciate Jamaica for what it is. Me always talk about yard, and right now I know and now appreciate what it is, being in your own country. And sometimes we murmur.
Wow, that was incredible information to unpack there. What those clips show us is a tale of two different realities. On one hand, you have a Jamaican where 1,000 euros a month can provide a superior standard of living with a more substantial dwelling and affordable fresh produce from local markets. On the other hand, you have UK where that same 1,000 euros goes a lot less far, especially for considering high grocery prices and expensive rent. It's a powerful visual of how the same amount of money can translate into completely different lifestyles. But beyond the numbers, there is even a more critical layer to this discussion. That's the personal experience of those making this move. We've heard from the Jamaican carer, and their advice is gold for everyone considering a similar journey. They painted a picture not just the financial opportunities, but also the harsh realities and the end for a specific mindset to succeed. Let us break down the essential strategies they have highlighted, starting with the professional side of the things. First and foremost, they have stressed the importance of displaying professionalism on the job. No matter what, it's about more than just doing your work. It's about conducting yourself in a way that protects you. Which brings us to the next point. Documentation is critically important. This is not just a suggestion, it is a form of self-preservation. You must write down anything or a client says, patient says. Why? As they put it, it is easy to go to prison over here when it comes to dealing with a patient. This is a serious stuff. If you get a no for a request, you document it and walk away. If a colleague tries and fails, you document exactly what the patient said. even in what they call deplorable conditions. You should document it and then consider moving on. This is not about being confrontational. It is about having a paper trail to protect yourself in a system that can be unforgiving. All right. Another is to the speaker specifically mentioned Unison Union, which supports care. A union is your ally, it's your protection and your advocate in a workplace where you can't afford to be vulnerable. This leads us to the broader theme of self-protection. In their words, you have to constantly protect yourself and your surroundings. They say you do not trust nobody in this environment. You can't left your back on guard or unprotected. This is a powerful statement about the need to be constantly aware. And finally, on the professional side, there is a fascinating piece of advice. The of advice was to focus on work, not friendship. We are not here to make friends. We are not here to look for a friend, she said. While you be professional and cautious, you need to remain aware and not get caught up in distractions. Now, let us talk about the personal strategies they shared. This is where the real heart of the experience lies. First, you have to understand your purpose. You need to know why you are in the UK and what you want to achieve. This purpose is what will anchor you through the tough times. And let us be clear, there will be tough times. The speaker has highlighted the financial realities. If you don't work, you don't get paid. They also mentioned that that even when you are unwell, as long as you won't infect others, you still have to go to work. And the cost of living has made it more harder for people to survive. Now, amid all of the expenditures, however, and this is a key point by the way, they were able to achieve things like buying land or a house in the UK that will have been impossible back home due to being underpaid in the government's job. Yeah, maybe. The sacrifice for them was worth it. Next, they need to prioritize mental health well-being. Carers deal with a lot, and you need to maintain your mental state on a positive standpoint, so that we can survive. This is not just a suggestion; it's a survival tactic. Then one of the most powerful phrases they used is "don't throw a spoon behind you." This means you should not be complacent or assume you are in a safe zone. Laws can change rapidly, and a wrong step could lead to deportation. You should always feel like you're walking on ice, where your wrong step could lead you to falling. It's a constant state of alert that keeps you grounded and focused. They have also touched on the need for self-reliance. They observe that a lot of Jamaicans in the UK are not brothers keeper, which is a stark reminder that you can't always rely on your own community for support. And despite all these challenges, there was a profound appreciation for home. Like, they referred to Jamaica as their beautiful motherland country and believe Jamaica is the best, advising others to appreciate what you have in their home country. This sentiment is a powerful reminder that while you may be working abroad, your roots and your identity are important. Finally, they have encouraged everyone to embrace the experience of working abroad, whether as a carer or a cleaner, or maybe you're doing something else, to witness life in the first world country. But they also acknowledge the irony of sometimes feeling they were in a third world country because of the conditions they faced. This is a complex perspective by the way, and it shows that the reality of working abroad is never black and white. So, what's the ultimate takeaway? The numbers tell a story of economic disparities, and I'm going to give you the numbers, but the personal experience tells a story of resilience, strategy, and the enduring connection to home. It's a journey that requires a professionalism, strong sense of power, or a strong sense of appreciate what that came and where you. So, guys, I have something here. I have something that I need to read to you, and these are some of the experiences that these people go through, and I'll attach these screenshots on this video so that you can see. One was saying that this was a video. One was saying that nobody told me that I'll be working 12 hours shift for 4 days in the UK. And then there was asking that, what's that one thing you wish you knew before coming to UK? And I saw people saying that they were told that the year has 365 days, but you will only see the sun for 4 days. And they were like, yo, I thought it was a joke until I came to UK, and then I found out that it was real. And then there is a financial breakdown of the salary that you might receive, like the life in UK. I have it here. I'll just put it on there, like, and it goes like this: life in the UK salary is £2,800 or euros, you can say. House rent is 800, council tax is 160, tax is 300, gas bill is 250, electricity bill is 200, water bill is 35, Wi-Fi bill is 35, car insurance is 180, food is 400, mobile internet is 20, eat out is 100, shopping is 100, is 300. So you remain with the savings of 20, just 20 pounds. So like this person was asking, who still wants to come to the UK? Like this is something that many people, they really want to go out there. They really want to go to the UK. They really want to go and enjoy life, work there, make money, but they don't know about the harsh realities. Like life, there is not a walk in the park. So what do you think about this video? If you think that this video has been helpful to you and you know that it might also help someone else out there, kindly hit the like button so that it can be pushed by the algorithm as many times as possible. Share it with your brother and sister. Don't forget to tell us your experiences in the UK, and most importantly, subscribe to this channel so that we can become a family and we can become a community. Thank you for watching. Turn on post notifications because every day I post new videos like this, and I'd like you to be the very first person to watch my videos. This has been your boy for today, Sam, and this is the Batu Matcha. Thank you for watching. Peace out.